Welcome to In Depth with Academia. I'm Richard Price, your host and CEO of academia.edu, and today we're digging into a topic that's both urgent and honestly a bit scary. Antimicrobial resistance in Indonesia, what a challenge. And yeah, there's a paper on this I really want to share. It's curated by Putu Kahyalagawa, and I want to remind you right up front, I'm just presenting this paper neutrally. These are the author's analyses, not my own conclusions, so approach with curiosity, not certainty. Alright, so what's the burning question behind this paper? It's this. Why is antimicrobial resistance such a massive issue for Indonesia, and what role can hospital stewardship actually play in fighting back? Simple question. Huge implications. Because when we talk antibiotics, we're talking about the foundation of modern medicine. They underpin everything from routine surgeries to cancer care. So, when bacteria evolve to resist the drugs meant to kill them, it's genuinely frightening. In Indonesia, the problem is even more severe than in many places worldwide. So the question isn't theoretical, it's can we keep saving lives in a world where resistance is sprinting ahead? Let's zoom in on why this is such a big deal in Indonesia first, some numbers, because honestly they just jump out at you. Like, I was kind of shocked. In Indonesian hospitals, over 70% of Acinetobacter baumannii isolates are carbapenem-resistant. That's a type of resistance that globally is more like 20 to 30%. Methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, or MRSA, sits at 22% in Indonesia. And to bring it home, that's way higher than many of their regional peers. These aren't just stats, they mean real lives compromised or even lost. The paper highlights that resistance-related deaths in Indonesia may range from about 34,000 up to 133,000 per year. That's not just a blip on the radar, it's almost unthinkable. In some recent years, that's even surpassed the country's COVID deaths. And again, not endorsing the figures, just neutrally sharing what the author presents. So let's talk about stewardship. This is one of those words that sounds kind of bureaucratic, but is actually surprisingly powerful. The idea is that hospitals don't just give out antibiotics like candy. They set up formal programs with teams, doctors, pharmacists, sometimes even nurses and microbiologists, all working together to make sure these precious drugs are only used when really needed. The paper emphasizes, and again, just relaying, that where hospital stewardship programs are robust, mortality drops by up to 35%. Hospital costs go down, sometimes by hundreds of thousands of dollars each year. And this one hit me. These programs can prevent the collapse of basically how we do medicine right now. That's wild. But here's the kicker, only about half of Indonesian hospitals with these programs actually see them working effectively. Even though comprehensive frameworks and rules have been in place since 2015, there's a real implementation gap. The structures exist, actual practice is where the system stumbles, and I don't know if this reminds anyone else of, other big global challenges, great policies, tough in reality. I mean, sometimes I think about my own experience with company rollouts, and it always looks so good on paper until, real people get involved. But I digress. Let's dig into methods and findings. The insights the author shares are, honestly, pretty clear-cut. Stewardship works. Studies in places like Vietnam and Thailand, so often grouped with Indonesia in terms of resources, show that context-adapted stewardship programs can slash inappropriate antibiotic use by up to 46%. That's almost half. Crucially, this doesn't mean patients do worse. Death rates stay the same or even get better. That's reassuring, right? The paper points out that even minimum staff models make a difference. One champion doctor, a pharmacist, a simple system for checking antibiotic use. It's not always about big budgets, sometimes it's just about commitment and creative problem solving. The paper gets into why it's tough to actually run these programs well. Biggest barriers? Not enough money, lack of trained staff, shaky equipment. Some hospitals don't even have microbiology labs. There's also just the reality that making stewardship everyone's job is tough when so few people have dedicated time or incentives. For listeners, that means if you're in healthcare or even just navigating personal healthcare decisions, there's a real take-home point here. The way we use antibiotics isn't just a hospital or government issue, it's a community and personal responsibility issue too. But okay, there's hope. Indonesia has committed to new data gathering with a national survey, is building better surveillance networks, and, if the energy described in this paper carries over to action, could really move the needle. I'm not saying the story is all bright spots, but history and research from nearby countries suggest that persistent, even small-scale efforts pay off again. Not making promises, just sharing the author's insights. So, what does all this mean for you? I guess my main thought is, even if you're not a doctor or a policymaker, you can start thinking differently about antibiotics. Don't pressure your doctor for them when you have a flu. Don't share leftover pills. A bit more awareness, asking more questions, supporting people who speak up about stewardship, it all matters. As I wrap up, just want to restate, I'm sharing this paper from I Putukahya Legawa totally neutrally. It's a jumping off point for thinking, not a verdict. But man, if there's ever been a time to pay attention to how we're using the tools of modern medicine, it's now. Thanks for tuning in to In Depth with Academia. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, academic research is here to offer insight to reflect on, not definitive answers. Catch you next time.